What is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning The Dr. Vibe Show. As always, I like to say you're blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles, and a solution for someone's problem. Please also note I'm a certified empowerment coach and president and CEO of Express Your Vibe Coaching and Communications. And remember, the Dr. Vibe Show for the last 10 years has been the home of Epic Conversations, and I'm the host of Epic Conversations. And we have another new friend here tonight. And this lady, she is going to bring it. She was even thinking about wearing sunglasses tonight. But she said, but maybe next time. Chiaku Hanson is a very discerned and spiritual woman. She is honest, unique, and eclectic. She has a male decoded blog called maledecoded.com, and where she decodes the male psyche. She's a doctoral candidate of clinical psychology. Congratulations. And her interests in psychology are spiritual psychology, psychoanalysis, and neuropsychology, spirit, mind, and body. So she is going to be on right now with us, sharing a little bit about her journey and about an epic article she wrote called Healing Black People. So let's welcome Ms. Hanson to the Dr. Vibe Show. How are you?
I'm fine.
Good. How's the day been?
It's been like, the weather was a little like, it wasn't that hot earlier, and now it's like really getting hot.
Okay.
So, how's your day?
Blessed, high favored, a magnet for miracles, and a solution for someone's problem. Because if I got to say that about myself first, because people have to realize when you say something, the first person that hears it is you. So if I don't think I'm blessed, why would anyone else think I'm blessed, right?
Well, look, you have not because you asked not, right?
Exactly. Right on. You are right on it. Just out of curiosity, where are you based? What city?
I'm in Los Angeles.
Okay. Okay, so let's turn into it. So where did you grow up? Where was home?
I'm from Los Angeles, California. I was raised in South Central. My parents moved to like mid-city when I was in 12th grade. And I went off to college, and I went to school in Virginia. And then I did grad school in D.C. And then I circled back around and came back to California to do my doctoral program.
Okay, well, a few conversations pieces we have to get from some of your story that you just shared. How was the switch going from Cali to Virginia?
Oh God, that was very, very different. The culture was different. Everyone was Black. That was a real encouraging thing. The Black people ran everything in the city. It was like the school I went to was very fraternal in a sense. Like once a Spartan, always a Spartan. I went to a HBCU, and I went to Norfolk State, and so everyone was like really like loving and caring, and it was amazing to finally meet people who grew up with their both parents, their mothers and their fathers. Like I didn't have that experience growing up in LA. Like most of my friends, they didn't know who their fathers were, whereas back east it was different. It was like very family oriented. So most people grew up with their mother and father. If they didn't, they knew who their father was and they had a relationship. And people were like very supportive, and I got like a lot of love. Like to this day, I'm still friends with everyone from college. And I received a lot of love going off to school. And I mean, it was just very different because, of course, it was a lot of nerd nature, a lot of trees. People were very conscious. People were very spiritual. It was amazing to be around men who didn't use the N-word, or be around people that didn't use the N-word, because in California, Los Angeles, the Black people in LA, they use the N-word a lot.
Right.
It was amazing to be around men who knew how to treat me, who were chivalrous, who were respectful. I didn't experience that in California. Like the men in California tend to be like very, things are very non-traditional in LA. So probably one of the worst cities as far as dating goes. So, I mean, it was just very different to be around respectful, strong Black men who were like, into chivalry, and they just knew how to treat, a woman. And it was nice to see women who also knew how to treat men and who were respectful. It was I just went to a very loving school. It was very loving, the environment.
Okay. Well, a few things. Family life, growing up without a father. How much did that impact you at a young age?
Well, I grew up with both of my parents.
Okay,
So
sorry. Okay.
yeah, I grew up with both of my parents. My parents were married at like teenagers. So
Wow.
they were married at like age 18.
Very
So
nice.
yeah, I grew up with a very active helicopter father, you know.
Okay,
So
I know what you mean, but you may need to expand that definition for our viewers.
okay, there's a term usually called helicopter mom, and my mom wasn't a helicopter mom. My dad, he was the helicopter dad, so he was very involved, very into our affairs. He was always talking to us about life, about dating, about sex, whatever. He was very open, straightforward, that kind of thing. That's what I mean. He was very protective. Stay away from my girls. That was the thing growing up.
That is a great environment. Was it your choice to go to historic Black college university? Was that something you wanted to do, or was that another influence?
No, that was something I wanted to do. I knew that I graduated early. Like I graduated at 17. So I didn't turn 18 until like 6 months later
Right.
from graduating. So I knew I wanted to attend the HBCU, but it was just a matter of like what HBCU to attend. So I took classes at Santa Monica College until I could figure it out. And I just started sending applications and I was getting accepted. I got accepted to like 3 HBCUs and then I just prayed about it. And Virginia, I was directed to Virginia. Till this day, I always say it was God. I don't know how I made that decision, but God just kept speaking to me, Virginia, and I went, and it was the best experience, that I've had. So,
what made it such a great experience?
Just being around Black people for the first time, where there was no gunshots, there was no gang violence, there was no Crips or Bloods, there was no, Black people knew who they were. They knew their culture. They understood. They had a good grasp of who they were. Whereas Black people in California are a little disconnected from being Black and proud. They're just Black. Where people back east, they know who they are. They know where they come from. It was very different, and it was a very accepting environment. Like people accepted me for who I was. They embraced me for who I was, and they were loving towards me. And I'm still friends with them to this day. We just have like a connection.
Excellent. Was it hard? Well, after you graduated, did you come right back to California, or where did you go from there?
DC after that, and then I circled back around to California about like 6 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. What was the DC experience like?
DC was a bad experience for me. That one was a downer for me. DC people are very different. The culture is very different in DC. It's very negative to me. It wasn't a good experience.
Okay.
I didn't really get along well with the culture. It's very different. I can't explain it. Like it's a lot of mental illness there, a lot of drugs, a lot of gang violence. It's a very, very bad environment.
Okay. When did you decide to pursue the journey into psychology? What prompted you to get into that field?
I got into psychology. I think that was the first thing I chose. Like at age 17, I was like, okay. I went to a career counselor and I was trying to figure out what my passion was, and so she gave me like a career test, and I just told her what my gifts were, and that was people, understanding people, knowing how they think, understanding what they're going to do next. I'm very also like I have that discernment, well, most people who don't know what that means, intuition, whatever. I had that. I understood people very well, had a good grasp on people. So she said, hey, I think psychology is for you, and I think that you need to take a psychology course. And I took a psychology course, fell in love with it, received like my first A, because school was always like one of those boring things for me until I became like a psych major. And I remember like getting A's on everything, all the assignments, the tests. And I remember showing up for the final exam when it was optional. That's when I knew it was for me, when I showed up for an optional final.
Wow.
Studied final, got like a 90 something, I think a 97, 98% or something. But like, yeah, I just fell in love with the field because it was like helped me. I've always been analytical. I was quiet growing up, so I was very observant. I didn't really come out of my shell until I was like maybe 19. Wow. So I was like very quiet growing up. So I was always observant and, and always just kind of watching people. So it was just like the perfect field for me. So I went into that field, received my bachelor's, then my master's, and then now I'm a doctoral candidate. So I'm almost finished, and I'll be, psychologist soon.
Well, congratulations on that. Now, was education pushed on you, or a part of your growing up by your family? Was education a foundational principle?
Yeah, my mother is an educator. So my mother received her bachelor's and her master's from UCLA. So she's a cum laude graduate. And my father is self-educated, really smart, self-educated, big-time reader. I mean, so growing up in my household, I saw my dad reading the LA Times every single day. Like reading the newspaper every day. My mother was very strict. So I'm an 80s baby. I was born in the 80s. So I grew up with Lion King. I grew up with Jungle Book. The movies. The Mermaid. Well, when I wanted to see those movies at the theater, my mother was like, no, you have to read the book first. So I had to read the book before I could even go through to see a movie at any theater. So my mother made me read. My mother made me attend bookmobile events. My mother always
you're going back there, because a lot of people may not remember bookmobiles.
Yeah. That means you're like an 80s or 70s baby or something.
Exactly.
My mother had me in after school program, so I went to private school initially.
Right.
And my mother put me in public school, and I was in after school programs. So I went to like reading programs. I was in math programs, math competitions.
Wow.
And I went to schools far out, like junior high in Hollywood. I graduated from Palisades, so I went to a charter school. So my mom was like big on education, and my dad was like strict too. Like, I remember waking up one Saturday morning when I was a kid, and I washed my face, used the bathroom, went to get something to eat, and next thing you know, my dad was like, yeah, come into the living room, your mother and I, we want to see you. And I sit down, and they have clocks out, and they're like, yeah, today you're going to learn how to tell time. So that was my Saturday morning as a kid, like I had to learn how to tell time, and they were teaching me, and that was normal in my household. We didn't have video games. My mother bought educational video games. So my sisters were good writers. They were very articulate, very classy. They weren't fast, ahead of their time. So like I was the youngest in the family, but I had like all these good role models. You know what I'm saying? Like educated, well-spoken people around me. So that's where I think I get the studious, determined academic attitude from.
Sure.
Like, definitely mother.
What other values that are part of you today that you feel your parents set the foundation for? Because obviously education is one thing. Are there any other traits that your parents showed you that you carry on today?
I think the sex thing was very big in my household. My parents talked to us about that. Like, hey, don't be out there doing, things that you're not supposed to be doing. Be a lady. Be virtuous. Carry yourself like a lady. Make sure it's love. Make sure you're married. Make sure, that was like very pushed in the household. I would also say being articulate, being clear, pronunciating your words, like, being, having good communication skills. And I probably would say another thing was knowing who you are. So we were taught about being Black and proud. Like, so my parents pushed that on us, loving who we are as Black people, knowing what we're about. And we didn't have all these terms around it. Like, we didn't call ourselves militant. We weren't called Black conscious. We weren't called any of that. We just love ourselves. We love who we are, but we don't hate anybody else. That's the thing. So we weren't taught to hate anyone, but we were taught to love ourselves, our Black self. We are Black and proud. We are not just Black, we are proud and Black, And then I learned about the oppression and the racism and the slavery and all that thing, but I learned about it in order. My parents taught me Black self-love first, and I would say, my mom was like positive. So she really like taught me a lot about not being vengeful towards others, not like letting people, if they do something to you, let them, their bad karma, let them have that. So it was just a lot of like philosophical, quotes and things that were said to me when I was growing up because my parents were older. I was a late child. They had me at like 40, so they were like older. So I grew up with a lot of old school knowledge. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. I understand 150% what you're saying, where they're coming from. Yeah. So definitely that is a good thing. Well, let's get into the background of this article that you wrote. What prompted you to write this article?
Okay, so the article that I wrote, Healing Black People, I wrote it on Huffington Post. What prompted me to write it was that, just watching how Black people, how we communicate with each other, and the state that we're at right now, and just seeing how just going into this field and getting to this stage, how learning that, a lot of Black people don't do their own therapy. And we have to do therapy in order to be in the psych field. It's recommended, it's required in some cases. And so a lot of Black people don't support that. I even see a lot of Black people in this field who haven't supported that either for themselves. They have not done their own therapy. And I just was thinking one day, like, wow, psychology can really help Black people if they kind of understood what psychology was about. First and foremost, a lot of people don't have a lot of misconceptions about what psychology is.
Okay. So I look at, because there's so many layers I want to get to tonight with this article, but I think one of the things I want to get right out of the get-go is the whole, for lack of a better term, with many Black people and psychology.
Yeah.
It's like an elephant in the room.
It is an elephant in the room.
And I want, as much as your article is important, I think that's also an important part of the article. So if it's good with you, I want you to talk about this whole area of one of the elephants in the room, psychology and Black people, because I've been doing this epic conversation for 10 years. And one of the things that has really come out in my mind and in my heart is the challenge that a number of Black people have when it comes to psychology, mental health, etc. So I'd like you to take the ball with that, please.
Okay. Well, first of all, let me explain. Psychology is the study of human behavior, and we study the mind as well. It's a science. A lot of people don't understand that. What I have learned is that, we all are experts at our own human self. Like, we know ourselves, we know our parents, we know our neighbors, we know our significant others, we know our siblings. We can speak about behavior, but what separates a psychologist from a person who can just speak about, behavior, or who has an opinion, is that we're basing our what we know about human behavior on science, on efficacy, case studies, our clients, and we're out there doing the research, and we're empathetic, and we have learned how to be empathetic as well. We're trained empathetic professionals, and on top of that, we understand the diagnostic criteria. We understand how the brain works. We understand brain chemistry. We understand like earlier child experiences. We understand defense mechanisms. We understand all, the base of the human being. Whereas with most people, when they're speaking about human behavior, they're just coming from a personal thing, not an objective, perspective. It's just personal to like them, their self, their parents, or what they've experienced. And so that's where that's how far it goes. That's as far as it goes. And so with that being said, my understanding is that a lot of people, when they hear the word psychology, it has like this reaction. It gets a reaction, especially with Black people, especially Black men. It's like it stops them in their tracks, like, oh, you're playing this mind game, or oh, you're psychic. No, psychology and psychic are two different things. And so off the top, people are like thinking, oh my God, it's this hocus pocus thing. It's this like this phenomena that was invented by white men, and they're just trying to control us or impress us, and you're embracing this white man's field, this white man's psychology, and that's not what psychology is. Psychology is ubiquitous. So that means from the beginning of times, when Eve, the real Eve, who they call Lucy, when she evolved in East Africa, and the human race was created from this black woman in Africa, which we all derive from, that is when psychology began. It began in Africa, if you really want to take it there. As soon as humans began to evolve, psychology began to evolve. So it's not something that Freud invented or created. He's a father of psychoanalysis. He is not the creator of psychology. Psychology defines itself. It's not something that someone just made up. It's the study of human behavior on a scientific level, And so I think that when you say psychology, the first thing people think is Freud, Carl Jung. Those are two analysts out of like the hundreds of analysts. I'm sorry, not the hundred of theorists in the field. And there are evolving theorists in the field. I might be one of them. Dr. Joy, who is a black woman, is one of them. Dr. Umar, I feel like he's wanting to evolve his own theories, as we speak. So, I mean, there's always evolving like theorists in the field. So it's not like this field that was created by Carl Jung and Freud, and it stops there. And I think that's what a lot of people think. They think it's this biased field that that's only connected to the white race, that is only like relative to the white race, and it's not. You can tailor psychology any way you want. You can tailor it towards black people, and that's black psychology. You can tailor it towards relationships. You can tailor it to whatever your interest is, whether it be animal. You can have animal psychology, that's your focus, or religious psychology, spiritual psychology. So you can tailor psychology to work towards whatever phenomena you would like to focus on. And I think that's what people misunderstand. They think it's like a man-made male white field. You know what I'm saying? And there's a lot of cultural diversity that is involved in the field. So I don't,
Okay. Well, you're doing exactly what I want. I was praying that you would do. You're really breaking it down. You're doing an incredible job. We have some people watching live, and if you have any questions or any comments, please feel free. She will answer them to the best of her ability. I want to get to one of the things you get into really early into your article, the whole aspect of post-traumatic slave syndrome. Mm-hmm. For many people, even black people, may not even know that they may be suffering from it. Can you give origins of it, and what are some of the causes of it? Well, okay. And the effects too.
Okay. So post-traumatic slave syndrome is a term that was created by Dr. Joy, who is she's black, and this was her dissertation. She did her dissertation on how slavery affected black people. Instead of causing, the correct term is post-traumatic stress disorder. That's the diagnostic term. She tailored it towards slavery. So she created her own term, and she said black people are still suffering from the effects of slavery, from oppression, racism, and they are suffering from post-traumatic slave syndrome. She gathered all the research. She conducted all her studies. She based her theory on empirical evidence, and that became her dissertation that she defended, and that's her life's work. She goes on discussing post-traumatic stress disorder. Post-traumatic slave disorder, and talking about the effects of how let me break it down. When we were enslaved, they kidnapped us from Africa, divided us with tribes. So they might have put maybe a Yoruba tribe and an Igbo tribe together on a ship, and those tribes generally don't get along together. And they were taking just intermingling like tribes and shipping us to North America, and they stripped us from our family, our culture, our spirituality, broke us down, enslaved us, beat us, and just stripped us. And basically, once slavery ended, it was just this drastic thing. It's not like there was some type of system or some type of program that was developed post-slavery program. This is the place that you would go to if you want to get a job, or if you need if you need housing, or if you need some therapy. There was no such thing back in those days. So basically Black people just watched their family members die, be lynched during slavery, raped, because slave masters were raping Black women. In some cases, slave males were even raped, or touched inappropriately, if you will. And basically, those things affect you psychologically. We never received therapy. We never had anyone to talk to. Black people prayed their way out of slavery. They were forced to be like these extra religious people while they were treated like animals. And then upon slavery ending, it was just like, go out, survive, figure it out, and that's it. So that's where the HBCU evolves from. The oldest HBCU was created in like maybe the late 1700s, like maybe 1790 or something like that. But most of them was founded in like the early 1800s, or not the early, but the 1800s, upon like slavery ending. And my school was founded in 1920. And so we created our own schools because we could not educate ourselves at their schools. So you got to understand, Black people are resilient. So we just had to continue moving forward. We had to create our own system, create our own survival techniques. But yet we never sat down and just took a breather like, wow, like my uncle was lynched, or wow, like I'm being treated like a dog every day, or wow, like I was just beaten to death because I crossed onto the wrong railroad. You know what I'm saying? So basically what she's saying is like, as Black people have progressed, be it civil rights movement, be it us having a president of the United States, we still suffer from oppression, racism, discrimination, racial profiling. I mean, how many times has a Black man been pulled over by a cop, and immediately his heart is beating fast, and he's extremely nervous and probably thinking, I hope I survive this pullover. And how many times does a Black person in general, even us, even women, how many times have we seen a cop behind us with their siren on pulling us over, and we wonder, are we going to get out of here alive? And that type of experience that we have as Black people is what she's describing as post-traumatic slave syndrome. We still have a lot of issues within our race, with like single parent households, or with us fighting against each other, gang violence, shootings, how we are against each other, in competition with each other. We are not in unison with each other. And she describes all of that as a part of like the Willie Lynch syndrome that we experienced during slavery, whereas light-skinned people were in the house, and dark-skinned people were in the field, and light-skinned and dark-skinned people were taught to like work against each other and not work together and not work for each other. And the old was pinned against the young, and and that type of thing. The strong was pinned against the weaker. And so basically we've learned how to not work together in unison. And all of those things, those self-hatred things, where Black people are walking around, they're not proud to be who they are. They're not proud to be, to stand for what they believe in, because of our post-traumatic slave syndrome. So that's what she describes it as.
Thank you so much for breaking it down. Fantastic job. Doing really good. What are there are many things, and I know time won't permit. Actually, before we go any further, thanks to everyone who's watching us live or on the replay. This is very good stuff. I'm going to ask you to make a promise that we're going to have you back, because I know that you specifically in your blog especially focus on Black males.
Yeah.
And I definitely want to have a separate conversation on that. So I'm getting you to promise that live to me. So, and to the audience. So absolutely. One of the things that you say here that is interesting: anger is accepted, but showing emotion is rejected.
Yes.
What do you mean by that?
Okay. Let me break this down. Okay. Because Black people have not been sympathized with nor empathized with, we have learned how to not have compassion for ourselves. And if you cannot love yourself, you cannot love your neighbor. So we suffer from self-hate, and then when you hate yourself, you're not going to love the next person. You're going to resent them because you don't love yourself. So with a lot of us, we have not learned how to be empathetic. We have not learned how to be compassionate with one another. And so with that being said, when we experience emotions, we go from hurt straight to anger within milliseconds. We don't sit with our hurt. We don't know how to communicate. You hurt my feelings. I did not like when you said that to me. Are you implying this? Let me be clear with you. We don't know how to speak in healthy ways. We know how to speak aggressively to each other. We know how to be angry with each other. We know how to be violent and aggressive towards each other because we have reinforced each other as that is how you express your heart and you're not to be played with. And that's when you'll be heard. When you are violent, when you are disrespectful, when you're aggressive, you will be heard as a Black person. But when you express, you hurt my feelings. I don't like when you said that. Can we talk? I'm not being dramatic, but I would like to get this off of my chest. You know, the other time when we talked, last time you made this comment, we're taught that when we speak in those healthy ways, that we're being weak, that we're being white, we're being Caucasian, you're talking down to me. And so we learn how to just positively reinforce the negative reaction. So emotions are not accepted. That's what I mean by that. It's just like this anger is accepted. Like you can curse somebody out and that's accepted somehow, but like telling someone, hey, I don't like how you're speaking to me. I don't want that's considered to be like, oh, you're being defensive, or oh, you're acting like a white person, or oh, you're speaking like a white person, or oh, you're being, or oh, you're talking down to me. So it's like this very misconstrued way of seeing things, like you can't really talk things out. It's like, oh, you're trying me. Oh, you're trying to get into my head. Oh, you're playing mind games. Oh, you're being disrespectful, because we haven't learned how to have healthy communication styles. So usually when you try to have a healthy conversation, it's rejected. Like, oh, no, you're doing something that I'm not used to. So you must be doing some hocus pocus thing,
But let me ask, in the history of Black people, wasn't there a time where our communication was good with each other? In your opinion, was there ever a time where it has been at least decent?
I would say, generally speaking, probably not.
Okay.
Generally speaking, maybe in particular groups, yes. Like at one time, the Nation of Islam was huge, and then the Martin Luther King Civil Rights Movement was huge. Now, within the Nation of Islam, they may have spoken a certain way to each other, and with people who were like more with the Martin Luther King, movement, they might have spoken a different way to each other. But could they come together and speak to each other with respect? There was many times where there weren't nice things said about both sides, So I think that maybe within groups we have good communication sometimes, but individually and like when different groups come together, not so much, because there's so much self-hate within the race. We have so many different groups. We have so many nationalities within a Black race. So you have the Jamaicans against the Belizeans, and the Dominicans against the Cubans, and you know what I mean? And so it's so many different nationalities within a Black race. And then you have so many different organizations, and then you have the Greek organizations, and then so it's like so many different divisions within a Black race that I think it's hard to make that, to even answer that question. It's such a vague question. It's hard to say, yes, at one time we did. I mean, I could probably say maybe the 70s, was maybe a better time where Black people communicated differently. But then everybody wasn't about the Panther movement in the 70s. So then those people who weren't with that movement and the people who were, then the attacks come along. So
from a historical nature, how much does divide and conquer have a part to play in what you just talked about? How you say we have different communities, different Black communities against each other. Like, I'm of Jamaican heritage, and Jamaicans think that they're the best of the Caribbean, whereas another island will say they're the best. Has that been an historical thing that has been fueled by the old divide and conquer thought process, in your opinion?
I think, honestly, I don't want to blame all our issues on slavery. I think we had issues before we were enslaved. I think that we had a lot of stuff going on in Africa before we got here. I'm going to say this, and I know a lot of people are going to be upset when I say this, but I think that there was a lot of witchcraft that was going on in Africa. There was a lot of things that were not appropriate. We started our slave trade first. We were the first ones enslaving our people, our own kind first. And then it just turned left, and then it became all of a sudden we're being kidnapped into slavery and sent to North America. But we first started that. And I don't know, my mom's philosophy is it's karma, and I think that it just circled back around, and we're just paying the price. So I think that in Africa, I don't think, but in Africa, it's a tribal, continent. And so even though you might be in Nigeria, or you might be in East Africa, or you might be in a different country, like there's so many different tribes within that country and many different languages that people aren't even working in unison in those continents. So I think that was passed down. That's how they were able to kidnap and enslave us, because they were able to use that against us. Oh, they're not working together for the greater good of their people. Whereas in Europe, they know how to do that. Caucasians, Europeans, they know how to work together for the greater good of their people. Hispanics know how to do that. Asians know how to do it. But African people of African descent, we have not learned how to do that. So with that being said, I think that it's in our DNA to be, I'm from this tribe, I'm from this group, I'm different from this group, I'm better than this group, it's it's kind of like this narcissism that we have within our culture. We want to just one up each other instead of just seeing ourselves as being in unison with each other.
Okay. Well, what you just said, I'm sure one or two people will go, but you know what? It does make sense what you're doing, what you're sharing with us. So with all this going on, and you put out this article, I guess I'll get again this. What's been the response?
I'm going to be honest with you. When I put things out, I don't really look for the responses too much, because I like to stay focused and I like to stay on task. I don't really look for are people bashing me? Are they agreeing with me? Are they disagreeing with me? When I'm on a mission and when I'm feeling passionate about something and I know that it's in my spirit to move, I move. I don't look around to see if people will agree with it. I don't look for confirmation or affirmation from anyone. I move when my spirit moves, So I'm not really looking, because I don't want to be discouraged I don't want to be discouraged from my voice and from my own mind, so I continue to just write and do whatever it is and not really pay attention to feedback unless someone personally emails me you did.
I understand fully where you're coming from, but the reason why I asked that was just to get a pulse of what people are thinking and feeling out there based on what you shared.
Mm-hmm.
And just to see if people are saying, and whether you're right on, or you're not on base, and not the effect to you personally, but where people's hearts and minds are coming from.
I haven't the article is still fresh. It's
okay.
Still only maybe a week old. So, people are it's probably still going to be circulating. It's probably still circulating or whatever. I don't know what people are feeling about it at this moment. I have to look more into it.
Okay. No problem. I just think it's really interesting to see, again, when it comes to this type of topic amongst the Black community, to see how they respond. I'm always looking for turns.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping and praying that articles like this will cause a good turn.
Yeah.
From the road that it's been on historically. Let's put it that way.
Right, because I think that with a lot of people who speak for our culture, it becomes negative really fast. People start feeling attacked. People start attacking. People, it's just where our passion gets the best of us. So I want to express this in more of a positive way and not in an attacking way. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to touch every perspective that people can relate to, so that no one feels left out or no one feels attacked. Because I think that we don't communicate about our culture in a positive way sometimes. It always becomes aggressive, or, you know what I'm saying? Or we communicate it in a negative way. Our approach is off. And I think that doesn't help us. We need some positivity to this. We need to heal ourselves in a way that is going to be positive and not hurtful. We need to be healed, not hurt.
Excellent. I fully agree. Another area that I'd like you to expand from your great article, the whole aspect of transference.
Transference.
So if you could explain that to me, because I feel like I'm in class right now. I'm getting Professor Hanson's giving me lessons in education here. She's dropping knowledge bombs, right?
Okay, transference is a phenomena it's a psychoanalytic phenomena, and it's basically, it talks about how it's sort of like a phenomena that develops in early childhood and is expressed on new objects in the present moment. So basically, you're living your past in the present moment. So, in other words, whatever your earlier child experiences, or whatever your early friend experiences are, or experiences that you have with anyone. It could be a neighbor, a child giver. I mean, whoever your caregiver was. It could be a parent. It could be siblings. Whatever you experience early on, you're expressing it in the present moment. So, for example, I might talk to you or interact with you a certain way because you remind me of my professor, or my teacher, or my first boyfriend, or my uncle, or my father, or something like that. And they say transference shows up in every decision that we make in life, be it jobs, friendships, relationships, acquaintances. Like it shows up everywhere. So basically, you'll find, like, for example, you'll find like a man chooses a particular woman because she reminds him of someone, be it his mother, his first girlfriend, the girl that pushed him down, the girl that rejected him, his grandmother. Or the woman chooses a particular man because it is a reminder of something, be it an absentee father or a father who was present. And the experiences do not have to be all the time positive, because intellectually the mind will say, I didn't choose the guy who pushed me down in third grade. Like, I didn't choose that guy in this person right here. Why would I do that? That makes no sense. Why would I choose my dad, who is this negative person? Why would I do that? Why would I choose that in this man? Or why would I choose this father who was never present? Why would I choose a man who's emotionally unavailable? Or why would I choose a woman that's emotionally unavailable? That's from a man's perspective. That's probably what he's thinking. Like, because if a father was absent in a male's life or a woman's life, he's going to choose particular mates. If he is not healed from that, he's going to have transference issues in that particular area. And he might choose a woman who can't love him, a woman who's emotionally unavailable, or a woman might choose a man who's emotionally unavailable because she didn't have a father who was present. Or if she did have a father who was present, he wasn't emotionally available, he wasn't positive, he wasn't loving, or someone that may have had a parent who worked a lot. Like, some people have parents who were lawyers and doctors, or people that just worked a lot. They might have been construction workers. And a child doesn't process a parent that is not present, or a parent that isn't loving or isn't there for the child emotionally. They don't process that as, oh, well, mom is working, or dad is just, he grew up in a very, unsupportive environment. That's not how children process information. The brain does not process it that way. The brain processes it as, I am being unloved, I am being unaccepted, I am being abandoned. And that's what happens. They end up, if they don't heal that, it becomes transference. And so they choose relationships, jobs, friendships based on that transference, because they have not healed that unresolved conflict. So we call that, in psychoanalysis, we call that unresolved conflict. Unconscious conflict is what we call it. Transference is a form of unconscious conflict. So, because we know what transference is, we address our transference issues. But the average person doesn't know what transference is. They don't know that they're having transference issues. They don't know they have unconscious conflict. And if they do know, they don't know how to resolve it. They don't know how to heal it. Because, that's a plus of being in this field. You kind of learn how to heal yourself. You know what I mean? And you learn how to get the healing that you need. So basically, that's what transference is. It's a form of psychoanalysis. Psychoanalysis deals with unconscious conflict, earlier child experiences, and you can be regressed all the way back to infancy, if need be.
Based on what you just shared with me, can that also be applied, not to the infancy, but how many blacks are challenged because of historic?
Challenged by who? Each
Well,
other?
not by each other, but saying how you said about transference, about relating our decisions of today by their past. Can that also be extended that some of the challenges that many in the Black community experience are today are basing their decisions of today of the historical past? Like they're still holding on to it. They haven't been able to, for lack of a better term, break free.
Yes. I would say yes and no. If something was passed down through your DNA and genetics, that's kind of beyond transference, because that's like something you inherited. That's her term, post-traumatic stress disorder, kind of gets deeper into that. She believes that it's passed down through our DNA coding. Whereas transference is more so something that you directly experienced yourself. So my grandmother, who passed away at 90-something years old, according to Dr. Joy's theory, whatever her DNA coding was, whatever she suffered from on a psychological level, racially, her theory is that I would inherit that. If I don't heal it, I would just be kind of just moving in life with that unconscious conflict. But we don't base the theory of transference on Dr. Joy's term. Those are kind of two different things. Transference is more so like my direct experience, which it becomes unconscious, and I suffer from it because I have not healed it, and so therefore I make decisions based on that unconscious experience, that experience that has become unconscious, and I make decisions based out of that without knowing it. So it's like it's controlling you from behind the scenes. It's like a puppet master, but you don't know that you're being controlled by those strings. So if I was pulled over, for example, by a police officer and he happened to be mean, and every time I see a police officer, I'm communicating in a defensive way or being defensive around them, that is transference. You see what I'm saying? But transference will not go as far back as like my great grandmother's experience. Right. That's something else. That would be more so like DNA coding.
Okay. Good explanation.
But I do want to make it clear that I have noticed within a lot of Black relationships that sometimes, or friendships, sometimes we don't even like each other. But yet we're still hanging out, still communicating, still seeking each other's approval or validation, getting the top-notch car, wearing all the name brands to impress these people who we don't like and who don't like us. And that could be a form of transference. You know what I'm saying? It depending on what their earlier experiences are. And a lot of times we don't know that we're making decisions based on an earlier child experience that we experienced. Transference is not always bad. Sometimes it can be good. If you have loving earlier experiences, then you will expect that from others, and you'll communicate and deal with people from that space. Transference can be healed because it's something that once you bring it, according to psychoanalysis, once you bring it to the forefront and address it and like kind of reveal it, it disappears. So you cannot heal something you're not knowledgeable about, or something that you have not recognized. So once you understand that transference is there, you can heal it, and then you can start making better decisions in life, start choosing better people, having a better life.
Okay. Well, as our conversation starts to wind down, I always like to have take homes for people, and I would like you to give some take homes when it comes to the Black environment, when it comes to psychology, maybe going to see a psychologist, breaking that barrier, and then also just some general things that you'd like to share with the Black environment in regards to ways that they can better themselves. Simple things, whether it's psychology based or non-psychology based, because you are a wealth of knowledge and you have a lot of evaluated experience, and we are looking forward to having you back again. I'm going to mention that again during our conversation. That
we can go as far as, we don't have to rush or anything too. We can get everything out too with this particular subject. Well, I don't want to feel rushed.
No rush. I just say we're getting close, but if I want you to just give some things, or what's in your heart, or what's and some of the things, and what message you have to the Black environment.
Okay. What I would say is that Okay, I watched a video recently. It was very disturbing. These teenagers happened to watch a man drown live. I don't know if you heard about that.
Yes, I did see that. I did see that. Yep.
That was so disgusting to me. Okay, so basically, the video was filmed. It was these teenage kids filming a person drowning in the lake, and they were like yelling at the guy, like, you stupid druggie, you shouldn't have jumped in the lake. And they were like laughing at him, and he was like gasping for air, and they were laughing at him. And one of the guys in the video, I can hear in his voice, he seemed concerned, like, should we be helping him? And then the other guy responded, I know you're not afraid to see a dead body, are you? I said, that's that black stuff. You know, we can't, that not showing emotion, not showing empathy, and not being compassionate, and trying too hard to be cool. Everything has to be too cool for school with us. We can't show emotion unless we make it cool. Rest in peace to my niggas. You know how we do. Let me pour a little 40 out for the dead homies. We have to make it so cool. We have to make it, everything hood. We have to like express our emotions in this way that we feel will be accepted by the people, when you don't really need acceptance from anybody, So I think that Black people have learned how to go from zero, I feel like zero self-confidence to narcissism. Narcissism is a serious personality disorder.
Wow.
And basically with narcissism, they say that you weren't nurtured as a baby, as a child. You weren't mirrored by your parents. So what you look for is to be mirrored by adults in your personal life. So with narcissism, you lack empathy. You lack compassion. You're a predator. You're looking for people to meet your needs only. And I think that as Black people, because we have not been compassionate with each other, sometimes we just look for who my needs. Or we don't know how to be compassionate with each other. And just watching that video, for example, it was just an example of like how we have to make everything cool. Like that guy really wanted to save him, but because his friend was like, "Are you afraid to see a dead body?" He was like, "No, I'm not afraid." But if he had been, hey, this isn't right, and stood up, maybe that guy could have, been saved. So I would like to just say that as Black people, we need to learn how to really, really develop self-love and not go from, because narcissism is not confidence. It's dressed up, deeply rooted insecurity that you facade with an arrogance or a grandiosity. So I think that we need to realize, like, are you really feeling good about yourself? Do you really feel good about yourself? Or are you just being, narcissistic and having a delusion of grandiosity? Just because you have a luxury car, or because you live in a luxury home, or because you're wearing name brands, does that really make you feel yourself? Or do you have a real self-esteem, a real self-love? Do you know who you are? So as far as like my advice to Black people, I would say we should become more psychoeducated. If therapy is not your thing, then at least become more psychoeducated. You can rent books. You can buy books from Amazon. Now, you're not going to, of course, be able to practice this, because this is a real field and this is a real art. But you can become more psychoeducated, where you can read books and learn more about why you behave certain ways. Like, for example, I would recommend John Bowlby. He talks a lot about, he's a theorist, psychoanalyst. He was a MD doctor. A lot of people don't understand that psychology evolved from psychiatry. The first psychologists were psychiatrists. So the first theorists in the field were medical doctors. John Bowlby was a medical doctor, and he became a psychoanalyst. And he talks about how, within his attachment theory, he talks about how a child cannot be loved unless they are loved for both their good and their bad. So he believes that true love is loving a child for their good and their bad, and so being supportive to that child, providing a supportive, loving environment. So we need to provide supporting, loving environments for our children. We need to work through our unconscious conflict so that we can be appropriate to ourselves and appropriate to other people, and especially our children. I would say another thing I think that we need to do is we need to work on like our transference issues. We need to develop that, and so that we can know why we're making certain decisions. And I would say sitting down with your thoughts. Like, you feel pain. We feel pain. We feel everything. We feel every emotion that comes into, our space. And just sitting with that and not trying to make everything a cool thing, or, just sitting with it and really accepting your feelings and loving yourself, reading more. You can also book an appointment with me through my website. Just talking, and find a coach, find someone that you can actually work your psychology out with. Because see, with Black people, we just go straight into like, I'm just gonna pray about it. I'll just talk to my pastor about it, and those are good things. You need to have a prayer life. I agree with that. And yes, there's nothing wrong with talking to your pastor, but they deal with just the spiritual side. They don't deal with the natural side. Whereas in my spirit, mind, body theory is that you heal the spirit first, then you heal the mind, and then you heal the body. So that's where the spiritual psychology, the psychoanalysis, and the neuropsychology comes in. We are spirit, soul, but we're also flesh as well. You have to address all of it. You can't just address some of it. And I think sometimes we just have a way of addressing components of who we are. I'll just get this new car. I'll just get this nice outfit. I'll just get this name brand. I'll just go talk to my pastor about it. I'll just go pray about it. But see, sometimes you don't even, you're not aware. If you're not aware of what your issues are, you won't really even know what to ask for. You know what I'm saying? So that would be some of the advice. Book an appointment.
Yeah, there you go. Well, that is fantastic. I think it's an outstanding way to end another epic conversation on the Dr. Vibe Show. Chiaku, thank you so much for taking time out of your positive, productive schedule to share with us. It was great, and I learned a lot. So I know the audience learned a lot. And I'm looking forward to your next appearance, where we're going to focus on Black men.
Yes. Male decoded. I speak about men in a very healthy way, psychological way. I don't male bash. I just want everybody to know I'm coming from a very positive space.
Absolutely. If people want to find out more about you or get in contact with you, how can they do that?
You can go to my website, www.decoded.com, or you can follow me on Twitter at maledecoded. You can email me, write.maledecode@gmail.com. So write.maledecode@gmail.com. That's pretty much the only ways to get in touch with me.
I love the brand Male Decoded. I think that's beautiful. I really like, that's a very good brand.
And let me just say my name too it's Chiaku. So
Chiaku. Yeah, Chiaku. There you go. Chiaku. Yeah. So there we go. Another epic conversation. Chiaku brought it, and she did it, and she just knocked out of the park. I will have all our contact information on the replay of this epic conversation. I am Dr. Vibe. I'm host and producer of the award-winning The Dr. Vibe Show. As always, I like to say you're blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles, and a solution for someone's problem. And she smiles when I say that. I say that all the time. So I
love that. That's so positive. That's
exactly.
So positive. Exactly. I really appreciate you being the way you are too. I love your interviewing skills, because I believe it's very positive, and I'm big on that.
I know that. I know I'm under test right now. I'm with a psychologist, so I'm under a test right now. So I'm glad I passed. Thank you, Lord, I passed, But as always, I'm a home of Epic Conversations. I'm the host of Epic Conversations. I'm also a certified empowerment coach, president and CEO of Express Your Vibe Coaching and Communications. If you want to touch base with me, the three best ways: Twitter at drvibeshow, email dr.vibe@the.drvibeshow.com. You can also go to the website address www.drvibeshow.com. If you want to catch replays of my YouTube conversations, you're at the place. And we're getting close to 250 subscribers in a few months, so thank you so much. And if it's of your heart, please become a subscriber. We just posted another epic conversation today with Dr. Tommy Curry. And that's someone that Chiaku needs to know about. He is very good talking about male challenges and Black men and sexuality and the challenges that they face over the historical years of Black men and sexuality. I'm actually going to send the link to Ms. Hanson after we finish. If you want to listen to the epic conversation replay via audio, again, go to the website. You can go to Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Google Play Music Store, again, the website. There's also Tuned In Radio. If you want to catch, and Google Play Music Store, and I think Stitcher Radio, forgot that one. You can also catch selected replays on thegoodmenproject.com. Also WGMS Radio. I'm also a brand ambassador for the only online magazine dedicated to African Americans in food, wine, and travel called Cuisine Magazine. So I think I got everything out there. So as always, I like to say two last things. Live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. And finally, sometimes you have to get smaller to get stronger. On those notes, thank you so much for watching live. There was someone who was watching live for the whole thing, but they didn't ask any questions. So maybe it was your mom. Don't know. But thank you so much for watching. Catch us on the replay. Peace be well. Keep the faith, and we'll catch you very soon. Thanks very much, and good night.